Paul, okay,
We have a quorum on both sides.
we're ready to roll here. And I want to welcome everybody to our meeting tonight, our joint meeting, and I'm going to defer to Naomi to kick things off here. Thank you, Naomi.
Oh, my pleasure. So I'm calling to order. I'm assuming we have a quorum on both sides and that we're recording this meeting just to make sure that we have a record for others to tune into when they want to. And I'm going to invite public comments first, as the agenda calls for. We will engage public comments as we go along, but if you want to make public comments in advance, we'll be happy to hear you.
Could I just suggest, Naomi, as we're waiting for public comments, just everybody on the call just introduces himself, because we can just figure out who's who.
Absolutely.
I don't mind starting with that. I'll start in the office. My name's Paul McGowan. I'm on the Community Engagement Committee. I'm here in the village office.
Keith Allen.
Hello, Paul.
Welcome, everyone.
Everybody knows Keith Allen.
Michael.
And Michael Silliman, the village manager here in the office as well. And that's everyone in the office so far.
So I'm Naomi Nyerman. I'm the chair of the Task Force on Antisemitism. It has a much more formal name, but I will go with that for now. I'll ask others to chime in. Marty?
Sure. I'm Marty Langland, and it's lovely to see all your faces. I'm on the task force, and it's an honor to work with people to deal with something like anti-Semitism. And of course, Keith and Paul, I love, and Yanni, I love the engagement committee. So it's wonderful to be here with both teams.
So
And
Leah, would you like to?
Enjoyed that parade the other day. I'm sorry that it was only for a few seconds that I could embrace you.
Oh, I got a nice hug there, Keith. That was lovely. And it was a wonderful event.
Thank you.
Leah, would you like to come in?
Yes, hi, I'm Leah. Leah Kraft, also on the Anti-Semitism Task Force. And we also love the parade. This was Sky from Paw Patrol. Can you say hi? Can you say hi?
Hi, Sky.
Hello, Sky. Hi, Sky.
Can you say hi?
Hello.
Adorable.
How can you not like
Okay.
that?
Andrew and Arthur, I think we shouldn't skip you. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, Andrew Cowders, council member and liaison to the task force, and trying to put tweens and one teen into bed right now, so I'm going to be off camera mostly.
I have two words for that. Oy vey.
Every day, multiple times. Thank you.
Arthur, would you introduce yourself, please? Unmute first. Okay, we'll go to Dara. Hello, Arthur. Never mind.
He might have stepped away. Maybe he stepped away off camera.
Oh, Katie, would you like to introduce yourself? Hi, Howard.
Sure. A pleasure. I'm Katie Flipcheck Howard. I'm on the council. I'm a council member, and this is my husband, Steve. He's a street captain.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Helen, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Helen Blank. I'm not a member, but I'm very interested.
And we can only see half of you, Helen.
I know it's the chair's not right. I'll try and fix it.
Okay.
Might not get me. Okay.
Jonathan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, that's me. It must be Jonathan on my phone. Hi, everyone. Yoni Shahar, Yoni, short for Jonathan, on the Community Engagement Committee.
Thank you for joining. What did you say you are? Who? You're what?
Community Engagement.
Yeah, but what's your name? I'm sorry.
Oh, Yoni Shahar.
Yoni Shahar, okay, not Jonathan. Okay,
Naomi,
take your-
I'm sorry, like side note, but I just met Yoni on Halloween, and he's been in the village for a year, and who gamma Israel.
Gam Israel? Oh my,
Ken, באמת?
Bemet. Okay, never mind.
Okay, sorry
it's a-
everyone.
It's a sideshow with Hebrew. Hello, Susan, say hello to us. Susan Faddick? Still muted. Lynn, would you say hello to us? You're muted. You get 3 seconds each. Jeffrey, would you like to say hello?
Oh, I would be delighted to when I'm not on mute. Hi, Jeff Blander, council member, liaison to the anti-Semitism, and a great fan of all that we're about to talk about tonight.
Terrific. Emily, would you like to say hello to us?
Sure. Hi. I'm Emily Stopa. I live over on Cummings Lane, just an interested community member. We are a mixed faith family, and so I appreciate the work that you're doing.
Me too.
And I'm giving I am brushing my 2-year-old's teeth and giving him a bath. So I'm going to keep us on our camera off, but I'm listening in, and thank you. Thank you again.
Okay, well, thanks so much for joining us. We'll try to find a better time for everyone. I'm not sure what it is. It could be 8 in the morning, not sure. When I'm still asleep. Did I miss anybody? Lynn, would you like to say hello? Okay, I am going to call to order, and I'm going to say a few words about what the Task Force on Anti-Semitism is about, and what our proposal is, and how we might shape it together with the vision of the Community Engagement Committee. So let me just say a few words about the way that I envision, the way I see the mission of the Task Force on Anti-Semitism. It says it's about education and awareness about anti-Semitism. We know from a lot of research that has been done before that yes, we need to educate people about what the definition of anti-Semitism is, how to combat it, if there is a way, but mostly the way to really combat it is to raise awareness about our culture and to introduce ourselves to the rest of the community, not just ourselves as human beings, which of course everyone needs to say hello to their neighbors, but also about our culture. Now, as an Israeli-born person, I've actually been very secular. I don't celebrate most of our holidays, but I do envision Hanukkah as a celebration of light. And we wanted to introduce the community to Hanukkah for that reason, to share with everyone how we see Hanukkah as a way of spreading light throughout the community, throughout the world. That is what I teach my grandchildren. We light the menorah, and then they play with all kinds of toys and other kinds of tools that spread light in their home and around the community. And when I saw and heard the proposal by the Community Engagement Committee that you all envisioned a luminary neighborhood, which has to do with lighting up the neighborhood, I thought we might have a match. So I thought we would start with, if you don't mind, if Leah can tell us what she envisioned for our proposed event, and then talk about how we can meld it together with a community engagement committee proposal. So Leah, if you're available, would you share with us what our vision is?
Sure. So as Naomi was saying, one of the most gentle and perhaps engaging ways to bring people to make people more aware about Judaism and some of our cultural traditions is through the wonderful celebration of Hanukkah, the celebration of lights. And we had thought about having a we were going back and forth between like an 11 to 2 p.m. event, and then also doing something later in the afternoon, or alternatively doing something later in the afternoon, maybe 4 to 6 or something like that. And as it'll be winter, it'll be darker by that time. We thought about having some of our traditional foods provided. Latkes is a traditional food for the Hanukkah holiday. If it's earlier in the day, we could do like bagel and smoked salmon and some of the other dishes that are associated with Jewish food, and some sweets as well. We thought about having face painting, because that's something that attracts a lot of kids, possibly a bouncy house, Hanukkah decorations, and then some of our traditional dreidel games. We also wanted to have someone from the community, maybe possibly from Martin's Editions, possibly an academic from one of the local universities, to talk about the story of Hanukkah. And we wanted to also provide some information in a very subtle way about anti-Semitism, what it looks like, what to look for, and how to be allies for your Jewish friends and Jewish neighbors. And let me look at the budget to see. We were also considering, we were looking for an indoor location to host this, but La Ferme was not available during Hanukkah. And then the Women's Democratic Club, is that it?
No, it's a women's club. Not
Okay,
Women's
sorry.
club.
So yeah, so the women's club nearby was a bit cost prohibitive. So we looked instead into renting some nice covered tents with covered sides. We could have heaters inside and make it like a nice cozy event, whether we choose to do it or early in the afternoon or later in the afternoon. And as Naomi said, being able to join forces with the community engagement committee, something like this would be ideal and a wonderful opportunity for our two forces to work together.
I'd like to add one more side comment. We have yet to submit to the council, the task force has yet to submit to the council our vision for the next year. And one of the events is going to be, we propose, a training about anti-Semitism, what it is, what it looks like, how to respond to it. That would be more or less a lecture. And we wanted to offer something that isn't just a lecture. In fact, so much of what we would include in the lecture, people already know. So this is really about getting together to share light and warmth.
And one other thing that we had talked about, which is also just to show the variety of things that we're looking to bring to the community. There are several Jewish museums in the Washington, D.C. region. There's obviously the Holocaust Museum. There is I'm trying to think of the title of it.
Capital City. It's a brand new museum in district.
Like
The Albert Small Capital Museum. It's a tiny museum where Nidus Israel's first synagogue was.
Yeah.
And then I believe there's also like a Jewish military museum that's in DuPont.
There it is.
Yeah. So anyway, so there are a few that we thought maybe we could do like, we could go to for together, those who are interested, and we could hire a docent, or a docent can meet us there, but it's just a little variety.
Correct. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
What was your thinking on timing for the event? Did you have a particular day planned?
For the Hanukkah event, yes. So
Yeah.
we had
I think
so
it's
the date-
December 10th. Is it
yeah,
the 10th?
I believe it's Sunday, December 10th.
And the timing would be like 11 to 2 o'clock type of thing?
So
Actually, I think we were better off in the late afternoon. Indeed, if we're going to join forces with a community engagement committee, because we want to do the luminary feature as well.
Yeah, so we're flexible. We
Right.
would like for it to make it work with the community engagement committee. We prefer to do before dinner time, although we will provide food. I'm not sure it'll be substantial enough to be considered dinner.
And then, so just to confirm, then the paper that we have here, the proposal for the luminary event, is that, did Yasmina put this together?
Correct.
Okay, got it.
And Naomi, I'd like to say that Community Engagement Committee is totally in accord with and support what you'd like to do. 100% in.
Are
Thank
there
you.
any other comments? Because I would like to propose how we might meld our visions, but let me see if I can hear from anybody else who has any comments about what Leah just shared.
Well, this is Marty, and hi, everybody. And I'm the non-Jewish person on the Anti-Semitism Task Force, and I joined because I think this is exactly the kind of cultural connection that just enriches our community enormously. And one of the things I know, I teach nonviolence. I teach violence intervention and prevention skills for everybody from the State Department to the military and to the police. I do a lot of violence intervention training. And one of the things we know about stopping violence and just hostility in communities is connecting people. You know, education means, learning about traditions and all of that, but it also means connecting with people as human beings across boundaries. And I think this is just a wonderful cross-cultural event, because I'm picturing, and again, this is up for discussion tonight, having the task force event maybe from 3 to 5, because sundown is like going to be 4:30 on December 10th, and lighting the menorah, and then having the lantern procession that Andrew talked about growing up in Germany, sort of a candle light, not with live burning candles, but with lit lanterns, lantern walk with the luminaries around the village being lit at that time. I think it would be one of the most beautiful cross-cultural events that I personally can imagine seeing. And 3 to 5 is a good time. Again, as Leah said, the task force is very flexible. December 10th is a Sunday, and I personally love latkes. But I just think it's important to connect across boundaries, and this is such a wonderful connecting event. I mean, I've been to like Irish, holiday events and British ones and Scandinavian ones. My only family's Polish. There are Polish traditions around light. Every culture around the world has some kind of festival of light in the darkest time of the year. And I think that this is a really nice start for a tradition in Martin's Edition to do the luminaries, in a candle walk with, again, paper lanterns. I just love this idea so much I can hardly sit still. It is just such a wonderful form of community education at the deepest level. This is violence prevention work. And yes, I mean, I do trainings all the time on, 30 ways to interrupt a bigot, 30 ways to stop a harasser. I do that all day long. That's what I do for a living. This connecting is the deeper level of social change that prevents violence, that makes people able to be allies, you know, quite apart from the skills of how you intervene if you're a bystander and all that stuff. This is the deepest kind of violence prevention that I know of, is this kind of cross-cultural connection that is joyful and full of kids. I mean, to me, Hanukkah is a party for kids, it's a celebration of light for the grown-ups, but it's really fun for the kids. And I want all of our kids in Martin's Additions to grow up together, really together, and to just understand that we are one community and to have fun together starting when they're brand new little. And that's how I see this. I'm actually very excited about this joint proposal. I think this is the way you prevent violence anywhere, and certainly in our community, the way we prevent any kind of ugliness. My mom used to say, ugly is ugly, I don't care who's doing it. And I think we stop it by connecting with each other. And I love the way this event connects people. Thank you.
Thank you, Marty. We should add, Leah and I should add that this is very much of a children-oriented holiday. Lots of there. I don't know if all of you know what a dreidel is, but it's something you play with, and kids can compete. Could be all kinds of wonderful games. There are table games, there are floor games. Yeah, there's lots, and we can offer the celebration of festivals, the celebration of Hanukkah, as a very non-religious version. I am an agnostic, a devout agnostic. I've never celebrated it as a religious holiday, but rather as a festival of light holiday. And that's what I would like to share with the rest of the community.
No, I mean, I think as Keith said, it makes sense. It sounds fantastic. Yanni, I don't know if you have anything to add from the community engagement perspective, but it sounds like, as Keith said, it sounds good to me.
No, I'm fully on board with this. I love the idea. Agree. It would also just timing wise be better afternoon for the spirit of what it is that we would want to do here.
I think Helen and Andrew both had their hands up.
So
Andrew, yeah, Helen, please.
So it is interesting because it's also Hanukkah is when the Jews held off the Assyrians. So there was some violence, they held off. But I think this is a great idea. This is the worst time in my lifetime, and I never thought we'd see this again in terms of anti-Semitism, how Jewish people feel in this country too now. So I think maybe not tonight, it might be interesting to talk about how we can schedule some community conversations. Because one of the things which is very frightening to me, and I'm a child who grew up with a lot of trauma, Holocaust trauma, is how little people know about Jewish history, even Jewish kids now. So maybe sort of, we could think about it later, some more communication into, education, sharing, because I think it may get worse before it gets better here. So I think, something that takes into account what's going on here would be helpful too.
So before I ask Andrew to speak, I just want to say, Dana Milbank did a wonderful article the other day that said, it's a lonely time to be a Jew in America. It really rang true for me. And I think that this would make it a really warm and one warm way to engage all of us and hug us.
Yeah, and Helen, I also like the idea of a community dialogue. Leah, I'm up here. Yeah, it's a really, really challenging time, and you're absolutely right. There's a lot of misinformation and lack of knowledge, and gosh, it would be a wonderful opportunity to be able to share our perspective, or even bring in a historian who could lend facts to the context that we're dealing with today.
Yeah, I think some of us could do it without the historian. I mean, I think we have discussions, something that would create more back and
or maybe some kind of moderator.
Maybe, yeah, facilitator.
Yeah, facilitator.
Great.
Sorry, Andrew.
Andrew, please chime
Yeah,
in.
no, not at all, not at all. I've enjoyed the conversation. A couple of things, and I say this as the son and grandson of Holocaust survivors, as someone who grew up in Germany, surrounded by swastika graffiti around me throughout my entire childhood. I want us just to be very careful that we're true to the task force mission, number one, and that's raising awareness and educating. And I think there are different ways to do it, and I think this might be one way too, but I want us to be sensitive to the fact that there will be folks in the community that see a sanctioned event for one religious group and will say, why aren't we having a Christmas event that is funded by the council and sanctioned by the council? So we have to be just careful how we do this. There's a way to navigate it, but I think as I discussed with Naomi in a call this week, I think the emphasis needs to be on education and awareness, with the opportunity to share light through this holiday. And I know you said we can try and do this in a non-religious way, but remember the council has to vote on this to approve this event. That's my understanding, at least. I just want to make sure that we don't run into any kind of concerns or hiccups as the council, wants to implement this task force mission. I think it all sounds great, but I just want us to be aware of that. And I agree, when Helen said, I think Helen spoke up, maybe not a historian, I don't want eyes to glaze over when we talk about these things. And my idea originally when this task force was approved was kind of a series of lectures or a series of community events that talked about anti-Semitism, and we want to, of course, make it interesting, not entertaining, interesting for folks to participate and to learn more. But again, just want to flag that there have been some concerns that we're kind of deviating into an area where folks will be upset maybe that there's a religious type event. So that's all. I've said it before, and I just wanted to flag it.
I appreciate that, and I think we've discussed it before briefly, Andrew. I mean, this is, it's more cultural than religious, I'd say. There's no proselytizing, as you know, and we are the task force fighting anti-Semitism. So if there is a Christian holiday task force, this is germane to our being.
I totally get it, and I think an argument could be made that a way to tell the story about anti-Semitism, which is, I believe, in human history the longest lasting discrimination against a people that has ever existed, thousands of years, as long as we've been around. There's a way of telling that story by telling folks more about the religion and explaining more about the religion. So versus just talking about all the discrimination and what's been going on and how to combat it. So this is me just flagging this, and that we might hear more about these issues.
But Andrew, Andrew, I don't think you heard Leah. It's not necessarily about the religion. It's about our culture and about our tradition.
I understand. Again, I totally get it. But the same argument could be made about Christian holidays.
Let's have a Christian. Let's have a Christian
Naomi and Leah, I think that Andrew's just making a broad point about how this could be perceived by other people, and we just need to be a bit cautious about that. And I guess to that end, my question would be, what are we going to call the event? When we're publicizing it and getting people to come and all that stuff, what are we going to call it?
I think we should call it Festival of Lights.
Or even a cross-cultural festival of lights for everyone.
A celebration of lights, maybe.
Celebration of light.
Celebration.
That's lovely.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can't hide that it's Hanukkah, though. I mean, it is Hanukkah. So I think, I mean, it is a Jewish festival.
But it's a Jewish
People have
cultural
to be-
festival, the way a Polish festival or a British
It is a
festival would be
Jewish cultural and religious festival. I mean, it's
Right, and
not
we
as
need to-
religious as everything. Usually, it's not the most religious holiday, but it is. It's just important, not, you know, I think what Andrew's raising is you have to be aware of how some people might react, because it is.
And let's think about a good answer to that. The
Yeah.
answer to that is that it's, you know, that Jewishness is both cultural and religious. The Jews span the spectrum in terms of religious practice. Like every group of people around the world has a spectrum of practice. And that the cultural celebration of Jewish traditions goes back very deep. I mean, it's a wonderful, warm tradition, and sharing it is one way to educate the community. Again, you know, I'm not preaching to people. The best way to help people learn not to be anti-Semitic is to connect with them. It goes back to what I was saying earlier about, you know, the theory and practice of violence intervention and prevention. And it is profoundly important for people to connect and to have the knowledge, but delivered in a friendly, warm, gentle, lovely way, rather than, you know, we don't need to beat people over the head with a broom. We simply need to like just connect. This is about connecting.
Can I come in here? Paul, I want Paul to say something.
Well, yeah, I just wanted to just do a process check. I think it's 8:36 now. I think we all agree this sounds like a great event. It's got the support of the Community Engagement Committee. It's got the support of the Anti-Semitic Task Force. What do we need to do next, or what do we need to agree on next?
I think that, Leah, what do you think?
I guess the question we had was in terms of budget, because I don't believe we have the budget. Is that correct, Naomi?
Well, we would have to ask for it, but one of the questions is whether this could go under. So, okay, let me back up a little bit about the budget. The Community Engagement Committee proposed a budget of which only the lanterns are not already included in our budget, because we have food and tablecloths and so on. So it's all about the cost of the lanterns, which the Community Engagement Committee budgeted as something like $1,000 to $1,200. We can really talk about that. I think we can get it down to half that much. It depends on what those lanterns are. My question about those lanterns are they fireproof? Because you're talking about candles and paper, but that's a detail we can get into later. So it's really the budget being melded together, adding to the task force budget another $1,500 to $1,000. So that's the budget. And the question, what is our budget, Leah? It's $4,200 at this point. So can it be included, a question, can it be included in the allotment that the Community Engagement Committee has already been allotted by the council? Because I think you got a budget for the year. Is that something that can be taken out of your budget? That's one question. Another question is, what do we call it? I think we have some kind of a consensus about celebration of lights. And then how do we present it to the council? How do we draft a different version to present to the council at the very next meeting? Because we have to get going for a December event. I see those three things to be done.
Can I intervene here for a moment? It's Arthur Alexander. I am congenial to Andrew's discussion here that how we frame this and how we develop it, we have to be careful. I know that municipalities and governments around the country have participate with various religious groups and activities and celebration of a whole lot of things. How we do that and not be supporting a religion which is not allowed under the Constitution, I think we have to ask our council about that. The fact that it is done around the country suggests that there are ways to do it. How, I don't know. This is not an area I've ever looked at. I am not at all an expert on any of this. So I think we need to get legal opinion on this and how we structure it. And before you come to the council with your proposals, and I agree with you, it has to be done at the next meeting. Let us get some review of how it is looked at, how we structure it, how we phrase it, how other organizations, other municipalities and governments do it, and figure out how we do it. Andrew, what does that sound like to you?
I was going to mention one other thing. This luminary, you know, I think Marty mentioned that I, as a kid, went around with these lanterns in the fall. I just looked it up because I just didn't remember. It was all Christian based, but this little Jewish kid was celebrating Saint Martin, which is the celebration of the end of the harvest. So it's all, you know, it's all mixed up.
Very cross-cultural there, Andrew. Very cross-cultural.
Always have been.
And let's not forget what Halloween is. So
right.
That's
yeah,
right.
no,
that's a sort of Christian holiday, you know, indirectly, but it is in terms of origin.
Yeah. At any rate, I think just to protect ourselves, I think it makes sense. Go ahead. Sorry, Paul.
Actually in Maryland.
Could I make a suggestion? And Helen, I'm sensitive to your point that you don't want to sort of put the Hanukkah aspect, you know, under the table, so to speak. But if we simply go ahead with this, call it the cross-cultural celebration of light, and then actually actively solicit the community. Anybody want to participate and celebrate your culture as part of this cross-community celebration? Come on down. There we go.
Every culture does have it. I mean, Diwali and in the Hindu culture, I think.
Yeah, and we're just making the invitation, and I mean, or does that sort of take away from the whole theme of it?
I mean, I think
I'm not getting. You could wade into this and talk. You could talk that point for about 5 hours because that's very complicated, and there's anti-Semitism rooted in the concept of not being able to. So it's fine. Name it whatever you want. That's complex.
I don't want to water down the task force's mission, right. But I do. I mean, at the same time, this could be totally separate. But you know, I remember at Rosemary Hills Elementary School, they'd have this annual world culture or world country. Yeah, bring food in that represents your country and all that stuff. But I worry again. I see both sides of this. I'm torn. But I worry that it then waters down what the task force is to do.
One quick thing I wanted to say. I mean, given the spirit of what the task force is about and what they're trying to do, I feel like watering it down kind of removes the reason for doing it in the first place versus just being very straight up about this is what we're doing and why, and not being, you know, Andrew, I totally get your point. I was gonna make this fun about like what others
Yanni, no. Thank you, Helen and Yanni. Thank you for that. In that case, I'd like to make another suggestion. Let's double down and we will say the Village of Martin's Edition strongly supports anti-Semitism. We've got an anti-Semitism task force, and we're putting together a Hanukkah festival of light, and we're doing it on this date. And that's what we're doing because that's what we believe in.
Well, it's all in the words. If you say the Village of Martin's Edition strongly supports anti-Semitism, I might think we'd have to.
Yeah, we need to put a does not support anti-Semitism. We support standing up to anti-Semitism and building community. Building community to stop anti-Semitism.
I have to say to
That's a
you,
good
I have to say to you all, given how I feel as a Jew at this very moment, if you asked me what I would like my community to do to make me feel safer, is this kind of an event.
Yeah,
Amen to that. Amen to that. Naomi,
then
I
let's
couldn't
do
agree
it.
more.
Let's just do it.
Can I just ask a question just because I am, I don't know, maybe more sensitive and crazy about these things, but whichever way we're gonna go about it, is there any kind of like security aspect that needs to be thought of? You know, because if we're doing this, I mean, I've gone into my daughter's preschool, the synagogue, and talked to them about their security because it's lax and you get complacent over time. But if we were doing something like this, that would definitely be a concern of mine.
Well, I still think it's okay to call it Festival of Light, Celebration of Light. I still do, but I get what you're saying, Yanni.
Yeah. Well, Yoni, I actually spoke with Keith earlier, and Martin's Editions has is it retired policemen? No.
They're still employed by Montgomery County.
Okay, yeah.
Private duty. Andrew can address that.
Okay.
No, we have off-duty police officers, Montgomery County police officers, Leah and Yoni, and I was thinking based on a recent, at this last holiday party down in the cul-de-sac here in Turner Lane, there was an incident. I think generally speaking, and I don't want to be an alarmist, but I totally agree with Yoni. Maybe when we have events, the time we use these off-duty police officers, we should secure them for those events. Have one of them there during a broader community event. So I think whether it's a Festival of Lights or it's our 4th of July or there's always a certain unfortunate risk factor even here in our beautiful hamlet. Yeah, I would agree that would make sense.
Yeah, and one or two, I think for the so I for those who are unaware, my all of your Jewish friends know at our synagogues there are always police. At Jewish day schools, my daughter goes to Jewish day school, there's always police, and they've sent out an email with all of their updated protocols because of the increased threats to the Jewish community. So we're used to it, and sadly it's required.
Yeah, Addis Israel is hiring a director of security.
Right.
Yeah. The Milton Gottesman has a director of security.
I don't know how many people in our community really know this. But that's a whole other thing. We really need to raise awareness about the extent of anti-Semitism all around us. And it's only going to increase every day. But that's not the only thing we want to focus on. We want to focus on celebrating together.
Yeah. And Paul, I just want to say, like, what you said about doubling down, and I like, even though there was like a missed word in there, but
I'm sorry about that.
no, but it was like when you said that, my heart skipped a beat, honestly, because we're so used to having to water down what we do. So to not make it seem like it's about us, or to be inclusive and I mean, I don't know how people who aren't Jewish, how attuned everyone is to what's going on. But Naomi, the article that you mentioned by Milbank in the Guardian, which was really a surprising publication to have that article, like
it was
really
in the Post. It was in the Post.
Oh, it was also in the Guardian.
Okay.
But it was by Donna Milbank. It was so poignant, and
it's a lonely time to be a Jew in America.
Yeah, I mean, we had a sign in the front of our yard that said "I stand with Israel," and my father-in-law called us and begged us to take it down because it's a scary time.
Was he afraid you'd be targeted just for having the sign?
Yes.
That has happened in
Uh,
the village before, where we've had progressive signs about like Black Lives Matter being defaced and other incidents, mostly not anti-Semitic per se, but where, you know, I mean, one of my neighbor's cars, she had a old Obama sticker on her old van, and her car got defaced with some right-wing graffiti. So it's not that it doesn't happen here, because it does. I think we're
Well,
very blessed.
Chevy Chase Elementary School
Had a
bathroom
swastika.
was
And
filled with swastikas.
Yeah.
It's really close to home, guys.
And you know, the
So
State Department just issued their warning, and I think one of the handouts we could have, you know, we mentioned, Leah mentioned having, you know, a side table, you know, along with the latkes and all the good food. You know, some just information, you know, like nothing, you know, nothing like, you know, no diatribes or anything, but simply some
Okay.
information. I think it would be good to have an information sheet there about how to be an ally with maybe 3 points on it, which
Can
is
I
if,
ask
Yeah,
a
just
if you
Marty,
see
if I can,
something,
We'll talk-
interrupt it.
I just
Hey,
want
we'll
to go
talk
back
about
to,
that another
a lot
time.
of, it sounds like
Okay.
there's a lot like details about how to do it versus I realize we're like 10 minutes away from 9. What's just ask Paul your question, like what is the next steps here?
yeah, so I think, yeah, thank you, Yanni. I think Naomi had, you know, 3 questions. Question number 1, it sounds we still need to do a little bit of thinking about what we're going to call the event or agree what that is. Number 2, then present it to the council. But then number 3, I think the third question you had, Naomi, I think we can answer that, which was, can the budget for this come from the already established community events budget? And I don't see why not. I mean, Keith, Yanni, you guys are on the committee.
Add something real
yeah.
quickly, Paul, just based on some feedback I've received about this event, and that is, in order for us to get a healthy showing here, I think it's important for it not to be just billed as a Jewish event, obviously. So this cross-cultural, this festival of lights, otherwise it's just going to be Jewish families congregating, which is very nice, but that doesn't do us any good. So I would just, as you all figure out the title of this event, keep that in mind as well. And the person who reached out to me said, of course, we don't want to make it a bait and switch. People showing up thinking this is going to be just kind of, you know, not a Jewish event, and suddenly it just turns into a Jewish event. At any rate, so just keep that in mind as you're deliberating as to how to what kind of title to put to this event.
That is just the most cynical view I could imagine at this point in time. Anyway, okay, so who on the community engagement committee could I work with to reshape our proposal? To
Any one of
submit
us
to the
that you'd
council.
like,
What'd you say?
any one you would like, Naomi, because we support what you want to do and we predict that this is going to be a wonderful event. Arthur?
I am not on the community engagement committee, but go ahead.
I thought you
So,
wanted.
No,
So Paul, I'm a fan of Paul. Paul, would you like to work with me on this?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay,
I'm a
so I
fan
just
of
want to
Paul,
get a
too.
consensus. Can we call it a festival of lights to start with? A celebration of light,
I vote yes.
I
okay,
say Festival of Lights is fine.
okay,
Me too. I vote yes.
Yes.
Looks
Okay.
like it's unanimous.
all right. That's the one point that we needed to get past. And I will work with Paul to reshape the proposal, pass it by you all before we submit it to the council in a couple of weeks.
Super.
And what Leah and I said, just as a whisper, if the council doesn't support this, we will put up the money.
Okay, thank
I'll
you.
help too on
Naomi.
that.
Thanks to everyone this evening. We do have a couple of other things on the agenda here. If you'd stay with us, we'd appreciate that for a few more minutes.
Okay,
We wanted to, Naomi and everyone else, we wanted to have a brief discussion, a follow-up on the Halloween event. And as
I have
to,
only one thing to say about that, Keith. Yay and thank you. Hooray.
hugs right back to you, Marty. Thank you. It was a great event and with the head count, I think that I've been part of more of these than anyone here in the community. This was attended by the most people. It was wonderful.
Not to mention the kids were adorable.
Oh,
Oh my
yes.
goodness, those costumes were so much fun.
Did you like that, Marty, when we passed you with the police car and
It was a stitch.
Yeah.
Had such a good time.
I just wanted to say I actually appreciated that there have been some recent times where the Halloween celebration has occurred on Halloween. And I actually preferred it this way a lot, to have it on a separate night the weekend before. I have 3 little kids, a 6-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old, and we can just never make it when the celebration's on the same night because it's like too much in one day.
Sure.
So I just wanted to, state for the record that I really appreciated actually having it the weekend before Halloween instead of on Halloween, because between dinner and getting them in their costumes, like we can't fit in trick-or-treating and going to that and eating dinner. It's too much. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Every once in a while, though, Halloween is going to fall on that last Sunday of
I
October.
understand. No, it's not always going to be perfect, but I just wanted to say, because there have been a lot of times where they coincided the two, and we were really able to make it and enjoy it this year because you were able to do it differently. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, the good news is, Emily, it's another 5 years, so you've got a good 5 years before it's back on Halloween.
Yeah. Okay, the next thing on the agenda here that we want to talk about is the engagement of street captains. And we do have some vacancies on that, right, Paul? Will you address
Yes,
that?
I had it to do from our last community engagement meeting to recruit street captains for the vacant spots on Summit Street and Shepherd Street, and I have been derelict in my duty of so doing, so I will do that, honest.
And you were going to confirm with all the other street captains that they're still willing to serve for another year. Is that right?
I did send that email out and nobody said no, so they cannot, we can assume they're all in.
We've got a couple street captains here, including Steve Howard and myself. And I think that it would be really nice to have at some point another get together. Paul, you did a little lovely invitation a while back to have some of the street captains over to your house.
That was nice.
And that was really nice. It was just a lovely, fun, just, a couple hours together. And I think getting the street captains together like that, again, helps build community. It helps people to know each other and trust each other and rely on each other. And I just really love that about Martin's Editions, that we have street captains. And Paul, I like your house a lot. So, hey, anytime you want to invite the street captains over to your place, I'll come.
Right.
I will definitely do that again for sure.
And I'm happy from the village to send everyone on those 2 streets a note. So if you just want to write a paragraph that you want to say to them, I can just send it to every household on that street and invite them to serve and see.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna ask for public comments now. If anybody wants to say anything, well, you've got the floor for as long as you'd like.
Would you like to approve the minutes from your last council
Oh,
meeting? Yes,
okay.
Mina, who wasn't able to make it tonight, which was really unfortunate. Put a lot of work in writing 3 pages of minutes for you all. So if you wanted to,
well, do we vote? I just vote to approve them, and then Keith and Yoni can second.
that's exactly.
I vote to approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
I second that.
Same.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, now we would like to hear some public comments here to wrap this up.
Susan, Susan, do you have something to say? Susan Faddick?
It looks like Susan's connecting to audio.
It says that you are connecting. You have not yet connected. Okay, maybe not. Maybe she fell asleep on the keyboard.
I want to ask one more thing. Regressing to our previous meeting, Arthur, would you make sure that Ron does the homework around this, what other municipalities have done?
Right,
So
I am going to be sending a note out, I'll draft it tonight. Yeah, to see how we do it, how we frame it, and so on. So I'll check.
Okay,
You-
thank you.
I see Jeff's hand up.
Hi, friends. I just want to say what a wonderful discussion. And I had two really quick, relatively in the weeds points. One, I can think of some of the most wonderful holiday events that I've attended both as a child and a parent that are kind of all an interfaith. And one of the pieces that brings everyone together is song. So I thought maybe a song book or something like that. And that would be really wonderful, especially with parents and young kids. And it could be songs of all different, holidays and faiths, given the time of year. And then the other piece, which I thought I just want to throw out, particularly around the mission of the Anti-Semitism Task Force, I hearken to, how the Chevy Chase at Home efforts, where sometimes we have the community events and there's a table set up with information. And I thought it might be, to really align with the educational mission, that as this continues to go through the details of how this is going to work out, to have maybe also a table or a space where there could be pamphlets and things about the resources in the community, perhaps even tours that some of the museums give, just to really add that very specific anchor to the mission around the education and training. And there's so many resources. I think just having a little space where you could have those pamphlets there could really then anchor it to the core. So anyway, over.
Good
And
suggestions, thank you.
Actually, I am here. I was trying to unmute. I was not asleep on my keyboard, Arthur.
Okay.
And I just would really like to second Jeff's suggestion. I think making it more interfaith is really more of a way to bring the community together, and at the same time offer educational materials as We Chase at Home and other organizations have done, for anyone who wants to do it, and then really stress the educational aspect that with speakers in separate events would probably be much better received by the community.
Okay, thanks.
Going to add one more item, and Naomi, I think you remember from our call that I suggested that we consider that as well in coming up with a one-pager that talks about it, but also provides, as Jeff mentioned, resources, who to call, maybe, who to consult with, who you can talk to if you have any concerns. But that's something that I think I've raised, I think would be a great idea. Now you'd have to put that together. So a little pressure on you, but maybe they exist already. I'm sure they do. We're not the first to address this issue. And organizations like the ADL or AJC probably have these types of one-pagers
Absolutely.
that could be handed out or placed on a table. So I think that would be a great idea as well.
Thank you.
Jeff's hand is still up.
This was a very productive meeting. And thank you very much for your getting this together here this evening, Naomi. We really appreciate you. And if you'd like to close things out tonight, please, Naomi, take it over.
Matt, well, before I do this, I just want to say, Paul, I'm going to give you a call
Sure.
so that we can move things forward before the
Yep.
next council meeting. And may I have a motion to close the meeting at 9:04?
I'll move to adjourn.
Any seconds?
Second. I second that.
I second that.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay,
thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks to Michael
Night.
here too.
Yeah.
Thank